Hello, everyone. This is your host, Gemma Putty, bringing health and wellness conversations from North Idaho and across this region. I'm so excited to chat with entrepreneurs, creatives, and believers as we journey together to connect more deeply to ourselves, our earth, and our communities. Cheers to shining bright and supporting local. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me again. Today, I get to talk with the creator of Living Earth Naturals, Brandi Mayes. Their mantra is one planet, one you, one love. So for one planet, meaning that they create personal care products using only certified organic, sustainable, and natural ingredients delivered in the most environmentally sound product packaging. One you, meaning that every choice that we make as individuals has an impact, both in our lives and for the planet as a whole. They're empowering us to make positive choices for our planet by choosing the best for ourselves. And then one love, meaning they believe that working together is essential. A percentage of the sales, both monthly and annually, go to support the efforts of people taking action for our planet. So I've been using Brandi's products for, I think, longer than I've honestly lived in Coeur d'Alene, because I used to visit here on summers and found her at the farmer's market and just love them. And then it's evolved, and now I live here and I get to see Brandi more often and go pick up product from her house. So Brandi, I'm so excited that you could join me today. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. I think as we dive in, we just kind of spoke a little bit just about you've had this company now for, well, how long? When did you start?
My first summer was the summer of 2013. And so I think that means 8 years as of this year. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, it's wild to think.
I bet, because just your evolution. I'll let you get into it a little bit more, but do you want to talk about kind of your story and background and what led you to really just diving in and creating this line, and then where you've come in the last 8 years? I know you could probably talk the next 45 minutes about that, but let's start there at least.
Okay. Oh, I'm a believer that everything is interconnected, and I think that's probably even why my business is what it is. But with that concept in mind, there's so many things that fed the creation of Living Earth Naturals. And I've thought a lot about that over the years, like what has made me feel inspired, what made me feel curious, what made me feel empowered. And because I've realized not everybody does start a business, and that was never a question to me. So that is probably one of the most base level things that made Living Earth Naturals possible, is that I grew up in a small business home. And so I didn't question it. It was just, it's one of the options on the table for life. And so I've realized that because myself and all of my siblings have done that. And it really made me recognize that influenced us as, on a very subconscious level to think about what was possible.
That's a really good point, though, because I think I wasn't raised that way. So I think me even diving into this, I've had to change the stories that I tell myself to be like, there's plenty of people that they believe in themselves and they find that mission and that drive within themselves, and they go out there and they make it happen. And I admire people like you for being able to do that. So
yeah, it's a journey, and it is interesting to recognize, that's not something we're all comfortable with. And so I do see that way of being raised, like, I didn't think twice about it. So that was nice, I guess, in one regard. But then, another thing from my youth is that I grew up in a very pragmatic home, and my mother grew an incredible garden and I don't even know what we got store-bought, for food for the longest time. We very much a DIY home. She grew everything and canned it. And so as soon as I had a home, that was something I immediately started doing.
Amazing.
And I think that might be what then launched into a curiosity for me, which was learning about the plants around me. And I think nothing's necessarily a weed. I know there are some that are more pervasive and maybe more challenging to deal with, but I started to find myself, because I was having a relationship with a garden and the plants are, that I was consciously cultivating, I became more curious about the plants that were around me on a regular basis, and what I was seeing in the forest as I was walking, and I wondered what their capacities were, what their characteristics were.
Right.
And so I started studying herbalism.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to know. I love nature, and so to me everything has character and personality. And so that was part of studying herbalism. And then the more I learned about these plants, the more vibrant they became to me. And I wanted to start utilizing them. So I would make little tinctures, and I would make, some salves and things to use for my family and to use for myself. And then came in that DIY side of me that I just love making things. I'm kind of a creator in general. I just like to figure things out. I love, in a kind of weird way, I love problem solving. And so that drives me to try things and to experiment. And so I started, the business started in 2013 mainly with like herbal products, very salve based, pretty basic line. I mean, very potent line because of all the herbal infusions, but a very basic product base,
Right.
which was smart to start with.
Right.
But then, just being who I am, I started looking around, and I consider making products very similar to cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Where once you start to understand the characteristics of your ingredients, you can understand how to work with them and blend them. And so that became another driving piece, where I would see a product that, like I would go to the grocery store and I'd see toothpaste, and I'm like, dang, I don't like throwing away a toothpaste tube. I need to figure out how to make something to brush my teeth. And so that would motivate me to figure that out. Or I, would find a cream, because I do like to moisturize, and I would look at the ingredients and I'd be like, I want to figure this out, and that would motivate that next thing. I also love art and beauty. And so I think some of that started to feed things like, that's why I like soaps, because they're pretty.
All your stuff is pretty. Yeah, I love it all. I'm like, I have them all here. I'm like, I just love it for the colors. And
well, and that's why I have so much color in things, because like I love vibrant things in nature. I love flowers. I love plants. I mean, to me, the earth is full of color, and so to accurately represent it, I do embrace colors and
even textures, right? And I'm curious, when you compared it to cooking, because I love cooking. What is kind of your methodology of going? Is it, oh, this scent would go well with this scent, or do you kind of come up with the concept of what you're trying to accomplish? Like, I want something to clean my teeth, and I know that this is good for it and this is good for it. Are you looking more at, I guess it's a combination of everything, or I'll let you talk a little bit, but what are you looking for in each of the pieces to put them together? I don't even know what it takes to make this. So
certainly in the beginning, I will research a ton before I start into anything. And research, includes reading on ingredients, or what's good for, so like take the tooth powder, what's good for oral health. I read a lot about the tooth enamel and where it's at on the Mohr scale, and making sure that I was picking ingredients that weren't going to harm the teeth as well, because that can happen very easily with using like clays if you're not careful, or like a diatomaceous earth or something like that that's harder than your tooth enamel. So there's that, where I'll do a lot of research. I am always looking at what other people are doing.
Okay.
I think we're all feeding each other constantly, and we kind of spur each other along in creativity that way. And so I will look at what other people are doing. I will try things, and I become my own, my own guinea pig. My family becomes guinea pigs, and
Yeah.
then I'll refine.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of from the product side. When it comes to like, and they're also unique, like blending scents and flavors. Oh my goodness. That is a continuing journey.
I
It's
love essential oils and but they honestly, they kind of scare me at the same time because I'm like you respect the power that comes, and
Yes.
especially in essential oil when it's so reduced. And so I'm like, what is this? Am I going to create like a little bomb here? And I mean,
Yeah.
of course, that's where the research comes in and whatnot. But with cooking, I feel comfortable with like la 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 la. But with essential oils and herbs, I'm respect Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Like she's got it figured out, but they
Yeah.
also did harm for needs as well as good, right?
Yeah.
As they
Absolutely.
needed to. So yeah, interesting. So
Yeah.
when you started back in 2013, you kind of refined down these couple of products for yourselves, and that's where you're like, okay, here we go, we're ready. Is that right?
Yeah. Here's this offering, give it a whirl. I started at the farmer's market, and I think that is also a big piece of how I grew up. Like I just believe in markets. I believe in farmers markets. I believe in small business and local. And I believe in it for the people. And I also believe in it for the planet. Like as much as we can be supporting and sourcing locally, the more we reduce our impact. And so it fit every bit of how I knew to initiate and move forward. And my goodness, do I love the people there.
Yeah.
I love the market, and will be forever my family. And so, yeah, I thought, I'll throw it out there and give it a whirl. And it was great. Shantaya was 4, I think. So it was a really fun place for my daughter to be little and to just present my new passion, it's a creation, I guess. With having my daughter, I realized my business is also one of my babies. And you kind of put it out there with this love and tenderness, and then keep going and try to guide it, and then it develops in its own regard too. Like my daughter has brought things into my life that I didn't see coming, so has my business. And so that's been an interesting thing that I didn't see in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Yeah. Well, that's the beautiful journey about life, though, really, right? You kind of like, you trust, you find your mission, your passion. And did that evolve? So you've obviously got your mantra for the business. How has that evolved as you've gone through and learned? Because I know even with the dry shampoo, which I'm obsessed with, I know you've changed the packaging just even in the last year, I believe.
Yeah.
So what is kind of your, obviously on this ongoing journey, talk about that a little bit, specifically regarding packaging, if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly. Packaging's been a big thing that has evolved. I mean, all of it has, recipes, all of those things have, but packaging has been a big one. Goodness, when I started, it was so, I guess even my awareness was limited, and that's so normal. The more you are involved in something, the more exposed you are to other options. Sometimes I would find that certain packaging, I might have a good product. So a good example here for what I'm about to explain is my deodorant. My deodorant recipe has not really changed much, but in the beginning, I did not have a good packaging option. And I was so committed to not using plastic that what I had was like a deodorant disc almost. It was like almost like a large lotion bar, and it came in a tin. And you would have to pick it up and use it. And, I still had people do that. They would buy it. They would like the deodorant. They liked how it functioned. But I could see, I watch people, I'm an observer, and I could see like the looks on people's faces sometimes when I would be like, yeah, you just pick it up and use it. They're like, no, I don't, And so I was very driven to figure out, how do I make this? You're already pushing people's boundaries sometimes with natural recipes. the performance is going to be a little bit different. But yeah, you're already kind of pushing a comfort zone. So there's certain places where you have to learn to meet your customers. And so I needed it to be as similar to a deodorant, a plastic tube as I could without being a plastic tube.
Right.
And so, that really pushed me to figure out how to do that. And I sat with it. Do I want to change my recipe? I'd seen people, put sticks in jars and do that. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that, because I tried like playing with a little bit of that idea at home, and I didn't like the functionality of that kind of deodorant, at least for my preferences. And I had good feedback about the deodorant. So I was like, well, the only thing that really needs to change is the packaging. I found different versions of what I currently use. And even those, like, I had to go through a few different suppliers, because not everyone could handle oil. It's paperboard.
Right.
And oil and paperboard is a real tricky combo. And there was one that I tried that didn't have a very thick, so that it's a push-up tube, kind of like a push pop.
Oh,
right.
Okay. Like the lip balm tube.
Yeah,
right?
like the lip balms are. Yep. And the same thing happened with the lip balms, where the push-up disc on the bottom wasn't very thick, and so it was just draining out the bottom. So I had to find a whole different supplier. Like, the intention was good by whoever had made that.
Right.
But, just kind of, it hadn't quite evolved to the point that it was very functional. So, things like that. The dry shampoo and body powder packaging that's my most recent transition. That one, I don't know. I just hate plastic. It's a thing. I wish this didn't happen to me sometimes, but yet I wouldn't change it for the world. Every time I see a piece of plastic that I interface with, I feel responsibility. I really do. I feel it as like, I should either figure out how to not do this, or I need to figure out how to maximize the use out of this, or, I just feel very compelled to be aware of how I'm contributing to my earth and our earth, that is, I hope that is cleaner someday than it is now. And so that was like my last big, huge piece of plastic in my line.
Right.
And I haven't had many. And it took a lot to find those containers. And yeah, there's still, it means sometimes you got to tap the thing down, it becomes a little more nuanced working with the product in there.
Right.
But to me, that's nothing.
You figured it out, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think I love your passion. And I think the piece that I'm finding is missing in so much of this is there's people that have gotten on this journey and have, for whatever reason, really taken responsibility and really realizing what we as human beings are doing to our planet or to ourselves by putting toxins in our body on the regular, right? I think I saw a quote or something the other day that was talking about how many hundreds of toxins like the average female has put in her body before breakfast, from washing her hair and rubbing it into her scalp and putting it on and then putting it on her eyelash. And that is a missing piece from our culture in general. And I think that's part of this, my passion to have these conversations, to kind of connect that, the middle piece that people come to your stall and they can see, oh, One Planet, yeah, she's doing the right thing, but there's not quite the time for you to be able to be like, the alternative is you going to the store and buying a bottle that is made of plastic. Where does that plastic come from? Where is it going to end up? What is the process that it took to create that plastic? What is in that bottle? What is that doing to your hormones? Do you want to get pregnant ever in life? People are more unhealthy now than they ever have been, right? And it's this lack of understanding of what we're really doing to ourselves and our planet. I mean, all of the fires on the West Coast right now, right? There's this missing piece of us taking responsibility for everything we do while we're on this earth. So you talked about you were raised really in a family that really took that responsibility. Did you take that? Do you really think from your parents, like that was just the way you were raised and then you took it on as your own?
I absolutely do, because, and it's interesting because I was not raised by like hippies. I was raised like by a pretty fundamental religion. and religious people, and they didn't come at it from saving the planet. They came at it from a very pragmatic way, just practical living, I think.
Okay.
And to me, that was just taking that made sense. I mean, it makes complete sense. Practical living does. And then seeing how that was less of an impact, and recognize, I've always been one to kind of extrapolate ideas out and see. I'm fascinated by the ripple, like by what happens when you do this, how does that manifest? And I mean, sometimes I can't sleep at night because I'm thinking about things like that, whether I'm concerned or whether I'm just blown away and in awe of it. But I do think it really did feed a lot of, it's very basic to my nature, really. It is. And I do think it comes from having a very I come from rooted people. And and then I've always been a nature lover. They do tease me. I am the token hippie in the house as far as they're concerned, and in my family. I'm the token tree hugger. I'm, whatever they need to call me.
Right.
They call me a food snob because I don't like to go to the store and get the cruddy food. I like to go get farmers market food, and they tease me in love.
Right.
But, I certainly have taken some of those very basic things that I learned, through observation and just family living, and taken it to the level that it makes sense to me.
Yeah. I love that, because I think even talking, like my grandparents, I was raised in England. So my grandparents were very much like war era. They weren't into, saving the planet. They were into, we're being frugal. We've got our huge garden outside. Why would we go to the store and buy whatever? I can make it right here.
Yeah.
I can reuse this mason jar over and over again. I don't need stuff everywhere. And then this evolution of just kind of the last like couple of generations of stuff, media. I was actually even talking to a coworker, and so we've all been working at home for a while, and she started to go into the office a little bit, and she said, while I was at home, my shopping had really stopped. I wasn't looking to shop as much. And then I started to go back into the office, and I'm looking at, oh, look at her shoes and look what she saw, and I'm distracted. And it was funny watching her have the revelation of like, this stuff has suddenly become back into my periphery as I'm comparing myself, and as I'm not just at home and like not able to go out and shop. So COVID, I think for those of us that are really sitting and being like, I truly believe everything happens for a reason, good or bad.
Yeah.
And what is it teaching us? How can we grow from this?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can I become a better person from this? Right. And it's inspired me to do this. But yeah, it is interesting it doesn't have to be coming from I'm a hippie, I'm a tree hugger, because my family calls me the same, and I've learned to embrace it. I'm like, of course I am. This is who I am, and I'm proud of it. Yeah, it's simplifying. It's getting rid of the noise and then keeping ourselves clean, because those toxins that we're putting in our bodies. I mean, what would you say to people, if they're looking at products, just regular products at any regular grocery store or whatever? I mean, from toothpaste to shampoos to, is there any brand, like regular brand, that is even remotely not toxic? I've just started to go to you or people like you that I really know that you are passionate about it and taking care of me, so I don't have to think about it.
I don't know if you can get that large and hold that integrity. I'm sure there are some brands that are probably using less toxic ingredients and a smaller percentage. I'm certain there are, because I still believe that integrity can hold to a certain degree, but yet it just comes down to scale. Like scaling is really tricky when you have high morals and high ethics for what you will use. And yeah, so I think, I don't have a reference for a business right off the top of my head that I think's probably doing that I would say go check them out. I do believe there's probably some, but also know, with that said, like the flip side of that coin is just like organics owned the idea of organic, there's a lot of manipulation about what's natural, and so it does take a little investigating and being aware, because I don't necessarily want the word natural to be regulated like organic is. And yet, anything can become a marketing piece. And that I've certainly laughed at times when I read all natural and I flip it over and I'm like, really? Oh, okay. No, thank you.
Well,
And
even, isn't it, can it be the same with organic even? Isn't there like enough wiggle room that people can say organic, but there's a way around it really being true organic? I honestly don't even know what true organic means, but I see organic and I want to trust it. But on certain products in like the general store, I really don't trust it anymore.
yeah.
I mean, is that right?
Well, the word organic is regulated by the the FDA, Food and Drug, or the USDA, and it only applies to food products. And so, I would almost say it's still an integrity thing, because once the government starts to regulate something, in a way they can crack down and require certain standards, and I can see that as having validity and being necessary. We live in a really big world with a lot of people. Right. And so in a way I can see that. And some people say, well, it's a money-making thing. I can see that too, but I do know that if you're actually using the word organic, you have to meet their certifications. And, like Killarney Farms at our market is a really good example. They exceed the USDA organic standards and they qualify for it. They've gone about making sure that they can call themselves that legally. I don't want to get into the argument of whether that should be made legal or illegal. It just is what it is. And sometimes, I don't know. It's not always worth arguing. It's worth figuring out how you can raise your bar and, make your standards high. And
I think also like making connections with your sources, right? Like certainly. Getting to know the people that are doing it well and are like having these conversations with the people that are making your products. I mean, like, she is passionate about it. Brandi is not going to put anything less than amazing in my products. I think that's the exciting piece to me. It comes again to the responsibility on yourself, but the empowerment. I don't want to come at any of this from a negative place. It's an opportunity for all of us to, start asking questions and just be conscious about what we should be asking. I think that's really where I think we can start making little shifts in just the things that we do and vibrating higher, not lower.
And how we engage is our way of, engage with one another and engage with our purchases even is some of the ways that we can encourage one another to come up to a higher standard and to support each other when we are making those choices. And making connections is a huge part of that, and being present with it,
Right. Yeah. No, I love that piece more and more. And being in Coeur d'Alene now for a couple of years, just the sense of community. And this is how I want this next chapters of my life to be: community, finding, the people that are supplying the life. So, so going back to your products a little bit, I mean, you've got so many. I literally have like tins here and lotions. I was like roaming around the house and I'm like, what else do I have? Look at all this fun stuff. But what are your favorite? If you were to say your top 3 favorite products of your own, what would you say they are?
What I use every day. So I always default back to that really practical upbringing, because that's kind of what happens with me. I'm not too fancy. So there's the things that I use every day that I have a passion for, which is my creams, because I really like the feeling of my skin moisturized. I think that's because I'm getting older too. I know. I use my tooth powder every day and I love it. And I use my deodorant and I love it. I just used my dry shampoo this morning, and it saves me from consuming some water and take I mean, honestly, I use so many of I mean, I use most of them. There's some that I don't have a beard. I don't use that.
But your husband does.
Yeah, and he does use it. Yep, he does. There are some that like I'm not as good at doing like face masks and stuff. I think it's just because I'm a pretty busy person, and one of the things I actually work on is trying to take time for myself, and self-care for me usually means going outside. And so I don't use those as much, and it's actually something that I want to, whenever I find myself in that position, I try to make sure I start playing with those things, because again, if I don't have relationship with it, I can't give feedback as well. So there's a few products that I kind of have on my list of get to know it a little better, because I went more from the standpoint of creator versus customer, my own customer.
Is there one that your daughter really likes using?
Well, ironically, Shantaya is at an age right now, she's 12, where it's starting to not be cool. So that's been really a little, you know,
Right.
But what I can say she does use regularly are shower steamers. She likes that because that's kind of fun and bling. We all use soaps, that's all pretty standard. We all use the shampoo bars. Oh, she started shaving recently. So I guess that could be that she likes to shave soap.
Oh goodness. But I actually meant to ask you about that before. In raising a child, that's a game changer, right? The second
Oh,
you
yeah.
had her, my little boy Beckett he's 13 months. So what tips do you have for me in raising a earth consciously aware? Is there anything that you learned along the way that was like, yes? Obviously they'll go through these chapters when they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I want, mom.
Yeah. I think because I'm hitting that right now. And so far we've been really conscious, and we've really tried hard to help her understand her connection to the earth. We've tried to take her out and have experiences outside with the earth so that there's comfort and relationship there. So that when we say these things, about why we shouldn't be using plastic, or why we're, getting our food from someone locally, or, how the choices that we're making as a family, so that there's context for the space that we're trying to care for. And there's not just context, but relationship. I think it would be very hard to know to love the earth if you don't get to experience, nature. And so I would advocate for getting them out. And it's not hard when they're little. Right. It's natural. It is human nature. And so I would do that. And I'm at the point right now where I'm kind of calling on my mother's, the way my mother worked with me. And I'm hoping that, because Shantaya is certainly at an age where she's kind of like, oh, mom says this, so that's not really what I want to do. And, she's not obnoxious about it, but I'm getting a little bit of the like, oh. And I'm hoping, my mom was really good about still loving me as I made my own choices.
Right.
And trying to really conversate with me. And I do try to do that with Shantaya a lot, talk to her about things, because I believe, again, kind of that same idea, you have to understand, if there's just hearing don't do that, or, we can't use this, or, trying to help make connections with our choices. Right. And empowering those choices.
Yeah. No, I love that. I've been studying the chakras a lot. I keep telling everyone this because I'm obsessed. But it's like after age 7, right? Like before age 7, they're kind of taking on all these stories that their surroundings are telling them, or their experiences. And then after that, they become on that journey to become their true selves. And that's where they're going to start questioning everything, and their identity and their relationships so I'm like, even seeing that path already, I'm like, okay, that's all of our human journey, is to find our true north, right? Yeah. So if it's going to take some of that questioning and pushing back, like,
yeah,
it's part of the process.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
she blows my mind sometimes. And I'm sure you'll experience this with your son where like there are times her wisdom, I'm like, how old are you? And you are an old soul, my daughter, because I don't know if I had that awareness. I mean, if I did, I don't recall, and so I also, when I see that and when I don't see that, I have to remember that she does have intrinsic wisdom and that she's a good kid. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
fun. Oh, I love it. Yeah, game changers. So, Brandi, over the years, I found you in different places. I found you at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
You were at Gaiwan
Yeah.
that day. I'm still sad about that.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
Kavita. I'm like,
Yeah.
so where? And now, of course, I'm like, wait a second, I can just order it online and we live not that far from each other. I can come and pick it up. But is there any other way that we can find your product right now?
Well, man, just like you said earlier with COVID being the great rearranger that it is right now,
Yeah.
no, I'm online. And that has been a that's been a big journey. I think that's kind of, I referenced earlier, like how the business brought things into my life that I didn't anticipate. Gosh, I mean, that goes from people to places to now learning experiences. And I used to think I didn't know much about online. And I am now like getting really good at like the back end of a website, and I'm getting good at learning how to work with marketing tools. And I had a lot of resistance to that in the beginning. And I talked to you about this before we started recording, where I had a couple Zoom experiences that really made me change my mind about the potential for connecting that way. I am looking at that through my business lens now too, where I am trying to continue to stay available to my local customers.
Right.
And I'm also allowing myself to expand into a larger customer base through online and connecting with people that are interested in supporting sustainable packaging and sustainable care products, and are recognizing that all of these things are connected. And so right now I am online. I typically would be doing the farmers market. This year we've had a lot in our family this year. I've referenced it a little bit in my business. We lost a family member, and it's been a big journey. And we have had COVID, and I had to get a full-time job. And so I have, because of the business changing so much, and it's just, I've had to get really clear about the things that matter to me in my life.
Right.
And my family has been a big piece right now.
Right.
And so I decided to pull back a little bit and give myself 1 year to observe all of these changes, to work with them in the best capacity that I can, and to be open to new ways of doing things. And then I'll look at it again next year. I did, there were a few shows that I was curious if I'd be able to do, because I've done arts and crafts shows as well in the past, and all of them have been canceled this year. And so that's just been kind of a wild trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's right now I'm online.
Which is, I mean, what isn't, right? Like that's perfect.
Yeah.
Everyone's online. I mean, go online. And what's your website?
It's livingearthnaturals.com.
Oh, easy enough. And I'll put it in our
Yeah.
show notes too and link you all. But I think it's beautiful to also have these conversations and realize how we're all, of course, we're all experiencing and receiving this time differently as we're processing. Some people, such as myself, it's more like, this is what I needed. Like, this is your go, Gemma. Like, people need education. Let's start having awesome conversations and creating community. Whereas other people, it's like, this is a kind of a time to surrender and listen and receive and process and just being okay where you are. I feel like there's a lot of people kind of fighting more, and it's like, just go, like flow is more like, once it feels like pushed, I'm speaking very hippie terminology, of course,
Oh,
but
but it's true.
it's that push doesn't get us anywhere,
No.
so it's just beautiful to see even just how you and I are experiencing it differently and being able to like really just be with that. And,
What's interesting is like, so I got a full-time job, and what's been really, I don't know, I really do believe in so many things for a reason. I'm working in the only place that I probably would be okay to work outside of my business. I am working in a community of people that are so supportive and caring, and it's a small business. It is a small family-owned business that they started in their garage, and I am learning immense amounts, and they are an environmentally aware business. They are a socially aware business, and that's kind of the way I educate anyway.
Right.
Is through observing. I am constantly soaking up what's going on around me and looking to see what works and to see, what can be improved. And man, I feel so grateful for the things that I am seeing in this workspace, that I will not have to go through that mistake process, because that's a big part of business, is trying and failing and trying again, and so I actually feel really grateful for that. And these people support me, like they use my products. I have been supportive of my business. They've been supportive of my family. And so I'm really grateful. And, it allowed me to have some financial stress pullback, which has actually allowed me to open up to new ideas with my business. And so I really believe it's been a blessing overall.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And I think that sometimes being like, at first, something that feels like not a great thing blossoms into, of course, this was meant to be.
Yep.
Of course, like a whole nother weight has been lifted so that I can see the other door that just opened, or however you want to say it. But, oh, I love that.
Yeah. Sometimes I laugh because I'll find, that hindsight kind of idea. I will find that I'll have been asking for certain things, I will have been reaching for certain opportunities or growth pieces. And you don't always recognize them when they show up, and then they do. And when you can finally go, oh, wow, this is actually filling what I had been looking for. This is actually, how else was I going to learn this? I don't know how I thought I was going to, but this is certainly filling that. And so, it's been.
I love that. Yay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share with us or kind of tell us about, or just in your world right now?
Gosh. Support small business. I would advocate for that over and over and over. I find sometimes one of the things that's been a little bit challenging is that our country kind of has a romance with small business, and we're made out to be, like entrepreneurs and everything, to be these heroic, brave figures. But man, you don't get anywhere without the support of people around you. And it's not, I don't always see it in practice. I see it more sometimes in idealism. And so support small business, support it any way you can, and make those connections, and share it with your friends and family, and encourage people, with, like, as far as my business particularly, and, one planet, one you, one love. And my mission is to help people connect personal and planetary care. Like I just don't see them as separate. And I hope that we can, as we interface with other people, help them remember that their true essence is so natural, and who they are is enough. And that, simple things, simple self-care, simple care of other people is actually a great gift to give to one another. And to do that, to cultivate kindness and compassion, and being brave, and pick up garbage. Things like that. Just, we really do have choices, and we make more of an impact than we give ourselves credit for.
Right. Well, and I think the world, it's so busy, and I catch myself in it, right? Like Amazon is right here, and I can order it, and it's going to be here in 2 days. Costco is right there, and then you catch yourself in what does that mean? Everything has its place, right? I'm not like demonizing anything, but be conscious. Where's that straw going to end up that you're using?
Right.
Look at that trash on Tubbs Hill. It's just bringing ourselves back, right? There's so much noise but it's just bringing yourself back to that simplicity. What's really important to you? Family, the earth,
Yeah.
like that's the beauty in it. Is like, where's your alignment? Oh, it feels so liberating too, right? That,
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
yeah.
Because we are not the things we accumulate, and we don't take it. That's been such a big piece of my family's journey with losing a loved one is there's been so much reflection on that, and he actually was trying to start he had started a garbage and recycling service way out in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. Also a big believer in the earth and very pragmatic practices and permaculture and, all these wonderful things. And, it's been so gorgeous to see the way he's been celebrated and remembered, and it had nothing to do with what he had accumulated. It had everything to do with the way he engaged with other people and his community. And that's really what we've got, you
Yeah.
know?
No, for
And
sure.
it's what we have to give. It is the only thing that will carry forward, is how we treat each other. And that does come down to how you treat yourself, you being very conscious of the way you speak to yourself and the way you care for yourself, and it reflects out.
No, well said. That's so beautifully said. So one final question. You mentioned Killarney Farms as kind of a inspirer. Is there a couple of other just local businesses or people that have inspired you or supported you along the way in this vibrant living journey, as I like to call it?
Yeah, certainly. Some people that really do rock my mind. Killarney, I will always say that. And I say it from so many levels. Like I've gone up to their farm and they're completely off the grid and they have built so much on their own and, they reuse everything. And I love that. They're doing it in like from A to Z. They are figuring out how to minimize their impact and use their life force for positive. And so they are certainly people I really admire. I have a buddy and he's got a local business and you've maybe seen him at the farmer's market. His name is Jason and he's got a small business called Strata Soul.
Okay.
And he makes all kinds of stuff out of old bicycle inner tubes.
Oh,
And like my purse is an old bicycle inner tube and people have thought it's leather. It's not. He makes all kinds of things and he's so resourceful and he's funny. He's very funny and he's got a very good way of taking, like lately with some of the political charged realities of the world, he's got a very good way of taking those things and shedding some light in a funny way and kind of bringing levity to some of our seriousness. And I admire that a lot. And yeah, his commitment he's another DIYer and figuring out how to do things. And then, oh gosh, I don't know how much rubber he's saved from the landfill. And so, that I really admire Jason. And then Rugged Roots at our farmers market. They're young farmers and you just don't see that very much anymore. And young farmers that when we're in college and decided that the best way they could support the environment and a healthy tomorrow was to become farmers. That inspires me. It just does. And they're doing a good job. They did take a little time off this year for family as well, but I really admire them. And actually the company that I am working at, Doma Coffee Roasters, they inspire me every day. They're always working to make their bags green. Not just their bags, their company green, where they will not go for maybe like we've had some bags split as an example. They will not step away from an environmentally friendly bag to go to a plastic bag that they wouldn't have that problem with. They are so committed to it. Everything down to our toilet paper and our cleaning supplies and just everything is environmentally green. As a small business, they are taking such good care of us as employees. They're so considerate and it's like a small family and they are socially conscious and aware and I'm very inspired by that.
Oh yeah,
It
no.
really motivates me.
Even when I talk to them, again, it's one of those little nuggets. It's funny that you say them, because when I've talked to them at the farmer's market, and at that point, it's very short interaction of like, I would like this, please. And then they
Yeah.
make it. But I've heard some of them talk, and it's that passion. You've got it. Like when you start talking about your product, and it's this energy that's bubbling out because you found your purpose and you're just glowing. And I love that. So I love that you said them. I'm like, and I love that I'm going to get to have conversations with these people soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and it's so good. It's inspiring. I find these people, something that with all of those people that I referenced, and there's so many in the world, what I'm seeing is that they keep defaulting to the most positive way to move forward. Like they're setting their standards so high, and it's reciprocating they have businesses that are flourishing, and it just goes to show that positive energy will come back. It takes time. Everything it's organic, businesses are an organic process.
Right.
But it's really neat to see that, because when there could be a choice to make it easier, or go with a less safe or less responsible option, they just keep saying no. And you can see it. Killarney, there's a line every week.
Gosh, around the like, yeah, totally.
And
I go to them on Wednesdays where the line is a lot shorter.
Yeah. I try to get there really early. So it makes me happy, because I do see that those things people notice.
Yeah. Well, whether people speak energy or not, you can feel it, right? There's some magnetic like connection to people like that. I don't know what they've got going on, but I want some of it. So, I love that. Oh, this was so great. I have been so excited. I'm probably like your creepy customer that's on Instagram. Hey, Brandi, how's it going? And you're just, I'm going for a hike.
Appreciate it. It's for me to have that connection. That's what I want to do, is have us all know that we're working together.
Yeah.
We really are. And that's where our power is, as individuals, but in community even more. And so,
no, for sure. Right. And especially in years like this, life was never said that it would be pain-free. It sure isn't, but it's how we deal with the struggles and persevere and thrive. That's where the joy in growing. And I have a quote from your website that I wanted to kind of just close with, because I saw this and it's so awesome. So the question is not, can you make a difference? You already do make a difference. It's just a matter of what kind of difference you want to make during your life on this planet. Julia Butterfly Hill.
Yep.
And
I got the goosebumps, and I know that quote inside and out, and I get the goosebumps every time.
I know the fact that her middle name is also Butterfly. What? So great. Oh, thank you. Honestly, this has been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
It's been very, very pleasant. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you could feel the deep passion Brandi has for her mission. One planet, one love, one you. I just love saying that. Even from these first few conversations, I'm deeply moved by the amount of thought, work, and overall energy that people are putting into their crafts to shine light into the world. Brandi has been refining her company for many years, and I would highly recommend trying them from www.livingearthnaturals.com. As I continue on this journey of discovery and holistic living, I hope you join me as I get to know more awesome, inspiring people in this Inland West region. You can find my daily life on Insta at Vibrant Living with Gemma, my coaching at gemmaputty.com, or the podcast is linked to both of those and can also be found on Insta at Vibrant Living Conversations. Please feel free to share, like, and let me know who you'd like to hear from in the future. Sending all the love, light, and vibrancy. Take care.